Hello, everyone. Welcome to your Daily Detroit. It's Tuesday, December 19th, 2023. The holiday season is in full swing. I am Jer Stays, and on the line with me is none other than Fletcher Sharpe. Good to talk to you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Always. All right, so I saw you on Instagram, and I guess we'll have to play with you the game of where you've been.
As everyone, or maybe they don't know, but back when Bucharest Grill used to have its one location downtown, I was there a lot. Food is good. It felt, kind of like home a bit. And then, of course, they branched out and they shut down that downtown location, which to me is the original Bucharest. I know they have many more around the area, but the original one was the one downtown, right by Cliff Bells, right by Comerica Park.
It was so good. In the Park Bar, there was a circular bar that was the Park Bar, and then there was Bucharest. It was the best, eating, drinking, 1-2 punch at whatever night. It was one of my favorite places to hang out, man.
Yeah. If I wanted Bucharest, they opened one up on Jefferson, which isn't necessarily far from where I am, but do I really want to drive 15 minutes to get, shawarma at 10 o'clock at night? Maybe I'll get me a 7-Eleven Slurpee, but I also don't really want to get in the car and do that. So they opened one up recently in Grosse Pointe Woods. I checked it out and it's good. I mean, obviously it's the first few days of it being open, so naturally I expect stuff to run a bit more good than bad. Food is seasoned the same exact way. Ambiance, the vibes felt the same. I will say I found it a little funny. There were a bunch of people who went there just because it was a new restaurant who had never heard of it. So the line in front of the menu was super long because there are so many people saying, what do they have and what? And of course, the people who walked in knew exactly what they wanted, went right to the line and got their food. And yeah, so all in all, if you love Bucharest, I think it's a welcome addition. Yeah, and you should definitely go there.
Yeah, the consistency is a big deal. They've added a ton of locations. I think they're adding one in Southfield or something like that. What about Bucharest, do you think, as an outside observer, pure speculation, why is it that they're nailing it and able to grow so fast? Because it's super popular. It's one of those things where the Bucharest shawarma is becoming one of Detroit's signature dishes.
You kind of said it, consistency. My goal for going to Bucharest and trying it, aside from doing it for the show, was I don't want it to be the best shawarma I've ever had. I want it to go there and taste like the shawarma I've had in the past at Bucharest. I don't want it to go there and be like, oh my God, this new fusion of I don't want that. No, just give me literally what I had downtown or in Milwaukee Junction or by Corktown. Give me that exact thing right here. I got exactly what I had ordered, exactly what I've had in the past. The beef was beefing, the lamb was lambing. Talked to Nicole. She said she gets a Bucharest shawarma, which is the one that has chicken and fries. And she's like, yeah, this is exactly reminiscent. And I'm like, that means it's consistent. So I think Bucharest does a really great job of consistently hitting singles and doubles. Of course, they might hit a home run occasionally, but they consistently put the ball in play in regards to their food and how well it's made and the time it takes to make it. You're not there for an hour unless you ordered 30 shawarmas, in which case, what's wrong with you?
Or you got a big party. Look, I helped throw a party years ago at St. Andrews. I think they delivered 150 shawarmas. I don't remember exactly, but I know engineer Randy knows.
Yeah, that's delivering. That's different. Don't go wait the entire hour and some change in Bucharest. That's call in, go do something, then come back. Don't sit there twiddling your thumbs and it's oh, we're on order 56. What order are you? Oh, I'm 14, but don't do that. If you love Bucharest, you should definitely go. If you've never had Bucharest, I suggest you go and find out about it if you're on the east side or if you're somewhere that's close to one of their other locations. I would definitely do it if I was not someone who knew about Bucharest, but I am, so I'm going to be doing it a lot more.
One more question before we move on to the Lions. Fries or no fries? Because I'm pretty much a no fries on the shawarma kind of person. Wherever I go, I won't name other brands, but wherever I go, I'm always deleting the fries when they make it American or whatever, because it's just weird for me to have fries on it.
I don't necessarily care. I don't get the ones with fries, but the few times I found a few fries and one of them I haven't really. It's really more so, is the fry good? If it's a bad fry, then no. But if it's a good fry, then I can look the other way. So.
Let's talk about the Lions. They dominated the Denver Broncos as the game went on. At first quarter, I thought it might be close, and then everything fell apart for Denver, and it feels like the Detroit Lions found their offensive line again.
Well, I mean, obviously the offensive line is going to look good. It's the first time in some time that all 5 starting offensive linemen have played together, which has led to why, like, at times protecting Jared Goff has been a little bit weird because Penei Sewell, as great as he is, has been moved around a few times. He's typically on the right. They move him to the left to make up. They've had Frank Ragnow at center to fill in the gap there. So naturally that's going to cause some, as great as like offensive line looks like one of those positions where it's like, okay, you block on the right, go block on the left. You go do this, go do. It's not. It's like telling someone who's right-handed, okay, you throw with your right, now go throw with your left. That's not how that works. Like, you can't do that. So even though moving someone from one side of the line to the other looks like, oh, it's a simple thing, your first step backwards is with, your dominant foot. So when you switch over, you can't step out that way. You have to step out in a way that folds towards the offensive line. It's like telling your right-handed second baseman, now throw the ball to first with your left. That's not how that works. Like, you're where you are specifically because of what your strengths are in that position. You're not going to put someone somewhere where they're not going to do well. And there are plenty of offensive linemen who can do great things in different spots. But, like, even still, like, they might make a mistake or two. So, obviously, when they got the offensive line back, the run game came back. As you noticed, the Lions went for, like, 170 or so rushing yards, with Jahmyr Gibbs grabbing 100 on 11 carries and a touchdown. And, of course, if the running game's going, then Jared Goff has way more time to be the good Goff and not the bad Goff. And he was the good Goff with...
The good Goff.
278 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 of them to... I think he's a Pro Bowler, Sam Laporta, who broke the record for most rookie tight end touchdowns in a season, period. That lets you know, because there have been some pretty good tight ends in Detroit's history. So for him to have that now, with still a handful of games left, lets you know how productive he's been this year.
He's been huge. It's so important. To me, looking forward, I feel like the next game, if we can win it, we can feel a whole lot better, right? Because I think we clinch a division if we win that, right, against Minnesota?
Yeah, with the Vikings losing and the Packers losing as well, the Lions will clinch a playoff spot if the Seattle Seahawks lose on Monday. Then the Lions have a playoff spot. If the Vikings lose next week, or the Packers lose next week, or the Lions just win next week and remove all doubt, well, if the Vikings lose, then the Lions have won because they're playing each other. But you get my point. Then the Lions clinch the division because it puts them at 11 wins. And it would put the Packers and the Vikings in a position where they cannot get 11 wins for the rest of the season. So the Lions would sit atop the NFC North for the first time ever. But for the NFC Central / North, for the first time in quite some time, I'm sure a lot of people could, breathe a sigh of relief if that's the case. It should be a little bit easier. I don't want to jinx anybody. The Vikings have been without Kirk Cousins for a while. They were starting Josh Dobbs, who they acquired, who is literally a rocket scientist. And I don't mean like, he's literally like, he came back from like dissecting atoms to like attempt to dissect defenses and was actually having a pretty good thing, but his course has kind of, run out. So they're switching to Nick Mullins, who had an okay game against the Bengals, but ultimately threw 2 interceptions that are backbreaking that led to them losing 27-24. So if they can put pressure on Nick Mullins, who was a part of the team, practice squad, still on the team, so he knows the playbook pretty well, but maybe can't execute everything. Maybe playing with the starters is a bit different. Put pressure on him the way you're putting pressure on Russell Wilson. Yeah, you have a chance to win this.
We've been a little tough on them throughout the season, and kind of our expectations have gone up. But getting into the playoffs, winning that division title, that would be huge. To me, yes, we're always going to push for more because we're fans and we want more. But if we can make that happen, that's huge. Like, this is a great season in my mind. Like, this is huge improvement, and I'll take it. I'll feel really good about it regardless. I mean, obviously, if something bad happens, I'll be sad, but a division title, that's huge.
Especially considering that there are people who have gone from 0 to 18 who have not seen the Lions win a division. Like, there are people who can vote who have not seen the Lions atop a division. That's huge. Obviously, when you get to that point, some fans will be satiated with that. Some fans will be like, now go get the number 1 seed, which I don't know if they're the number 1 seed in the East. I don't think they're the best team in the NFC. But I do think that a division title, whether they go on to lose their first game in the playoffs, whether they go out to lose every game the rest of the season, like, this is a benchmark season, especially given where you've come, the turnaround. It's something you really should not try to make smaller than what it is, because it's a very, very big achievement for this club.
Well, fingers crossed for next week. Let's talk real quick about something not so positive. The Pistons continue on their slide as we are recording this. I don't know what the words are to say for this. I want to bring one question by you, though, and this is from the feedback. I don't know where it's from, but this is from the feedback forums where people are like, hey, is it time to like move the team? Are we looking at the ownership and like, hey, sell the team or do some kind of drastic move here? Because fans are frustrated, I think, for two reasons: the losses, number one. But number two, it feels like, as of this recording, although he does a lot of things, like there's parks and all this other stuff in the community, I think a lot of people want to see the guy. They want to see somebody take responsibility for this being so far off the tracks, man.
Move the team.
Sell the team, meaning move it from the current owner.
No. No, it's not. And I'm not even one of those guys or like a paid shill who's like, the Pistons can do no, it's not. Yes, he should be in Michigan way more. Yes, he should be at these games. And yes, he should be saying something. I don't think he needs to come out there and say that the team sucks, because we can all see that. And you're never really going to catch someone who owns something that's worth $1 billion or so be like, this thing sucks. Like, that's not going to ever happen. But he should definitely be here more. He should be saying something more. He should even do the whole thing where I wouldn't talk to the team. I had to talk. Like, no, you didn't. We know you didn't go in the locker room and greet those young men that way. But, like, you can even, like, he should do something that shows, I guess, the passion that the fans want to see. But I think he's doing, for me at least, the community fan, I like what he's been doing and engaging the community. I understand more people want wins and losses, and like those should be coming soon. We were hoping for more this season, but obviously that's not the case so far. But no, I don't think that's the thing at all. I will say though, unfortunately, it's a very not good stat to read. The Detroit Lions in the past 2 seasons currently have 19 wins. Mm-hmm. In the same span of time, the Pistons also have 19 wins.
That's not great, man.
No, it's especially not great considering that NFL teams play 16 to 17 games and NBA season is 82. Yikes. But it's a young core. This is a rebuild. Like, people understand that rebuilds happen and they take some time. Rebuild is still like a fresh rebuild. It's not like they've been rebuilding for 5, 6, 7 years. Like, this is a fresh rebuild. Obviously, you have some people that you drafted high, expecting some expectations, like Killian Hayes, who have not been fulfilling them. Obviously, you have some young players who are showing some talent. Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren, Jaden Ivey when he can play. And, like, it's just not coming together at this point. It's a weirdly built roster that, like, has a lot of long, young players who they're building based off potential. Like, they're expecting these players to come around eventually. And I know a lot of sports fans don't want to see that. And I know it's a bit harder to, like, wait, especially when the Lions, who are going through a rebuild, kind of had theirs turn around now. The Red Wings, I'm not going to say they're the best team in the NHL, but they're kind of turning around now. The Tigers kind of figured some things out at the end of the season. And again, they might compete for the division. They might not like look very good outside the division, but they might compete for it. So to have your team being in a rebuild with like the most fan accessible players / team and to like still be rebuilding is frustrating, but to move the team from Gores to someone else right now, I don't think that's the right move. And honestly, all that's going to do is just make your rebuild take even longer.
Well, I'd love to hear what people think. dailydetroit@gmail.com. This next one, if you saw on social media, I was at the groundbreaking for the U of M Innovation Center downtown. The thing is that there wasn't a ton of news out of it. Everybody had their speeches, and we saw Stephen Ross and all this other stuff. But I got to tell you, on Thursday, when I saw Chris Ilitch in the flesh, in my mind, I was like, man, and this has been in my craw for a while, we need a new scoreboard. Like, we need to freshen some of these things up over at Comerica Park, especially after I went down to Columbus and I saw the minor league ballpark that had a better scoreboard than we did. And and it would have been completely inappropriate, been like, since there's no other news happening out of that thing, there was a marching band. Where's the scoreboard, man? And then, of course, Friday, the news release comes out from the Detroit Tigers that they're going to be putting in said new scoreboard. It's going to be nearly 15,700 square feet, which will make it second in the league to the New York Mets. There'll also be displays along the dugout, line score. Like, they're just doing a whole bunch of new displays. They're doing new audio, new TVs, which, having been to a few games, it's definitely time. I'm excited about this to see this. They say it's going to be ready for opening day in Detroit, and I will say that a number of local places have been added to the food roster as well in this release. Burt's Marketplace, and of course, I have to shout out Taqueria El Rey. Otherwise, I probably would have skipped that part. But Taqueria El Rey seems to be getting their druthers and ending up at Comerica Park, which, I mean, hey, I'll take more options.
I mean, yeah, when you're revamping the food and every options like that and putting in a new scoreboard, it means you're expecting people to be in your stadium. You're expecting like, all right, we're going to get more people. The team's going to be a little bit better. We're going to be competing for a few more things now. They are able to see the game from wherever they are. If you're going to be getting food, obviously the scoreboard will be very helpful because you won't be able to watch what's happening on the field. So you'll need to look up and see something. So yeah, they're riding high off of the end of this. Wasn't a great end, but it was a good end for the team. They're hoping to use that going forward to propel them into having a good season.
Well, I wonder too if more eyes are going to be on them, especially with the addition of Jason Benetti behind the mic. It's that whole vibe that I'm actually glad to see some investment. I just hope that some of it pays off on the field too.
I mean, yeah, of course. That's where a lot of Detroit sports fans are kind of caught up, whereas they recognize a lot of these teams that are in Detroit, Pistons, Red Wings, Tigers, Lions to a degree, are all kind of younger teams. And like, this is a good place to be. You hope that they all keep taking this step forward. And I understand the frustration with Pistons fans about the Pistons not taking that step forward yet, but it's coming.
So you're real confident on that. You're feeling very confident on that.
I have to be. I've seen these players play. I've seen Cade Cunningham at Oklahoma State. I've seen Jalen Duren at Memphis. I've seen Jaden Ivey at Purdue, and a lot more people have seen that than other players. Didn't really see Thompson when he played for Overtime Elite, but I saw a few highlights, saw some Summer League games. Like, I've seen these players do the roles that they're doing very well. So to see them come together and struggle with those roles, it's part of the players doing some stuff, but like, there's some stuff they're still figuring out. Yes, they are all still young. Cade literally has a season and some change of professional basketball under his belt. Jaden Ivey is playing a different role last year. Jalen and Asar are still learning. Isaiah Stewart is trying to figure out whether he wants to be an NBA player or not. But like, they have some things they're trying to figure out. So like, it'd be one thing if they had a veteran presence, someone who's been around and won a lot and was able to kind of right the ship here. But like, they have Bojan, they have Monty Morris, who I love, but like hasn't really played as much. So some stuff is coming around, and like, to see Comerica Park get revamped for the Tigers going into the season, it makes you feel positive because it's like they're expecting things out of this. They're not just hoping to, because if they were expecting to have another bad season, they wouldn't be making these changes. They'd say, all right, well, we're going to suck again, so let's just see if they come back. But like, no, the Tigers are like, we're going to ride this potential into the sunset. We're going to have a competent team. We're going to have a team that's going to compete, and people are going to want to see that. And of course, like with every Detroit sports team, when they're like fringe playoff, but like they are trying to actually try and show the quote unquote Midwestern grit that these teams have, then people show up. Like, people go. Like, if they lost 90 games, but 80 of their losses were by like 2 runs or less in the ninth, people would be at every single game. So people just want to see them scrap and play hard and do what they need to do. And like, people are excited about that potential. If you're a Detroit sports fan, like, you can't help but feel a little optimistic going into the season when you hear they're making changes around the stadium.
You know what? I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it on an optimistic note. Fletcher Sharpe, St. FDW on social media. So good to talk to you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, that's it for your Daily Detroit for this Tuesday. Thank you so much for listening. Feedback, as always, 313-789-3211 or dailydetroit@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening. Remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around Detroit.